Did you just get a letter from your mortgage company saying that your payment is going to go up by $700 a month because of your property taxes? Are you looking to buy your first house and you're just trying to figure out what your total monthly payment's going to be? Well, property taxes are something that a lot of people just don't consider when they're buying their first house. But if you're not careful, you can get a tax bill that's literally thousands of dollars more than you're expecting. If you're interested in finding out how you can save hundreds of dollars on your taxes, make sure you stick around to the end of this video, especially if you just purchased a newly built house. Let's get started. So first of all, and again, I know this is going to be a super exciting topic for some people, but why do we even care about taxes? Well, taxes are one of the things that make up part of your overall mortgage payment. So when we talk about mortgage payments, we talk about four things: principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and sometimes HOA dues, so association dues. Collectively, we refer to those as PITI, or if you have an HOA that's tacked on there, we call it PITIA for association. So when you get your mortgage, the principal and the interest is going to be a fixed amount, particularly if you have a fixed rate loan. The proportion of money that you're paying toward the principal and the interest is going to shift as you start paying your loan down over the course of the year. So the principal and the interest should stay the same over the course of the loan. The two variable parts of this payment are the taxes and the insurance. You're probably thinking that the taxes and insurance parts of your mortgage payment aren't really that important, but if you're not careful and if you don't file the right application, that taxes part of your payment can triple your monthly payment. So what is it that can actually cause your tax bill to triple just from one year to the next? Well, it has to do with whether or not you're living in the property. So here in beautiful, sunny Charleston, South Carolina, we have two different tax rates, one for if you're living in the property and one if you're not living in the property. If you're living in the property, that's your primary residence, so you get a 4% tax rate. If you're not living in the property, meaning it's either vacant, raw land, or an investment property like a rental, then you're going to be taxed at a 6% rate. This is awesome for people who are living in their own homes because their monthly payment stays pretty reasonable. I mean, 4% tax rate on your primary residence is pretty good considering some of the tax rates in other parts of the country. But where you get hammered is when you move out of the property or if you purchase an investment property, because then you go from that 4% rate to the 6% rate. Now, I know what you're thinking. 2% difference doesn't sound like it's a huge deal, but there are some things that are credited to you when you're living in the property, such as schools, fire bonds, some tax credits for general county and local operating taxes that then do not get credited to you when you swap to that 6% rate. This is going to depend county to county what those exact credits are. Charleston County isn't too terrible, but Dorchester and Berkeley counties here in the greater Charleston area will definitely hit you right in the wallet when you go from that 4 to the 6% rate. The next thing we're going to talk about is how you can actually find out what your property taxes are going to be if you're either living in the property or if you're not. This is going to help you stay on top of your mortgage payment, and so you won't get caught totally off guard when you move out of the property. Maybe you're converting your primary residence to a rental. So I'm going to show you how to do this in two different counties just to give you a different perspective. I'm going to show you how to do this in Charleston County proper and then also in Berkeley County. So here we are at the Charleston County Auditor's website, and we found their tax estimator tool. You can see the website up here, right? charlestoncounty.org/Department's Auditor Tax Estimator. So this thing's pretty easy to fill out, but the big takeaway here is we're going to see exactly how much our taxes are going to change if we go from living in a property at the 4% rate to renting that property out at the 6% rate. So I'm just going to use my house as an example. So I'm living down here in West Ashley, so I can check the city of Charleston, West Ashley. Let's come up with a value and say the average home value in West Ashley is $450,000. That might actually be a little low. So here's the kicker. We go to our assessment ratio and we select 4% legal residence. So we look down here and we see that our net tax bill is going to be $2,371. That's pretty reasonable, right? A 4% rate in general across the country is fairly low tax rate. Here's what'll hurt you in the wallet. You go up here and you select 6%, right? Which is any motor vehicle property or any real property. So any houses or real estate that you own. But now we're at a 6% rate. Check this out. $7,807. So if I did my math right, that literally triples your taxes. So the two big drivers of this are when we're looking at the 4% primary residence tax rate, Even for our total value of $450,000, we have this $18,000 assessment, which is kind of the overall tax. Our gross tax is $5,600. But then this PTR, this is property tax relief. So this is actually $2,613 of credit that we get against this $5,600. So when you add in a couple of minor fees, you get that total tax bill of $2,371. Now, if we come back up here and swap to the 6% rate, we can see that not only are we getting assessed at 6% of this total value, which is why our assessment rate went up, which means our gross tax went up to $8,400. But then if you look at this property tax relief, $0. So we're not getting any credit for that anymore, which then results in this $7,800 tax bill. Gulp. So just like on the Charleston County website, here we're in Berkeley County. So berkeleycountysc.gov/department auditor tax estimator. And at least they give you this little warning, right? These estimates are estimates only. They're not exact tax amounts. So for the purposes of this discussion, let's say that we're going to be living in the town of Somerville. Here we can choose pretty much any other area of town if we want. So let's use that same value of $450,000 that we used for the Charleston County one. In this case, we're going to say real property, primary home, which means we're actually living in the property. All right, so let's check out this tax bill. So here's our original tax liability, right? $5,600. But then look at this tax credit we get, right? $2,500, almost $2,600 in school tax credit. That's awesome. And then on top of that, we get some local and county sales tax credits, which all add up to be another $900, almost $1,000 off. So really what we're looking at is a tax bill of only $2,400 on a $450,000 property. That's not too bad. But just like with the Charleston bill, let's check out if we just make this a residential property at the 6% rate that we are not living in. Here we go. Hold on to your wallets. Look at that. So our tax liability has jumped to $8,400. We get $0 in tax credit. We do get a little bit of local and county tax credit, so that's about the same, right? $990. So what that comes out to is a $7,700 tax bill. So again, if you do the math, that is over tripling your taxes just when you move out of the house. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to go to the county auditor or tax assessor's website, and most counties are going to have some kind of tax estimator tool. You can plug in what part of town you're in, the assessed value of your house, which is typically just the purchase price if you've recently purchased it, and then you can compare either the 4 or the 6% tax rate. And what you find there might actually surprise you. One of the important things to remember is when you do get that tax bill, that's for the whole year. So don't forget to divide that tax bill by 12 to get your monthly contribution that you should be adding into your mortgage payment to make sure you're not caught at the end of the year with a big tax bill. So the last thing I'm going to talk about here is something that I've seen over and over and over again, particularly with people who buy a new construction property. So what happens is the builder, right, like D.R. Horton, Lennar, Meritage Homes, whatever your builder of choice is, they go out and they buy these big tracts of raw land. And they buy them for pretty cheap, being relative here, but at a pretty low price per acre. So they clear out all those lots and then they subdivide them. They break them up into those little lots and then they build those nice new homes. So this is great because the homeowners are getting a brand new house, but the taxes come back and bite them the next year. So what the county does is they assess you on the value of the land for when the house is not yet built. So the builder is just getting charged for the value of the dirt, and that's it, which is fair because right now all they own is the dirt. Then D.R. Horton or Lennar Homes or whoever it is, they sell you the newly built property, and then you as the homeowner get stuck with that brand new tax bill, and you're also being taxed on the value of the house as well as the dirt that it's sitting on. The problem with this is that raw land is not taxed very much, but improved land, meaning if there's some kind of structure or a residential building on it, gets taxed at a much higher rate. So what happens is that can cause your tax bill to go from $400 a year to $6,000 a year. This is eye-watering, particularly if your mortgage company isn't paying attention and doesn't catch that difference until almost 18 months after the change. Because then what you have to do is you have to make up that difference in payment, and this can cause your mortgage payment to go up by over $700 a month. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm not exaggerating. I've actually seen this with my own eyes before. I try to keep this video short because taxes usually end up putting people to sleep, but if you found this video helpful and you want to actually apply the knowledge that you gained today, Take a look at the links below for some other videos on nerdy real estate topics like taxes, interest rates, and how to calculate your rental income and your expenses.